Corporate profits over people's health. That's a topic we return to quite often on this program, and today we've got another instance of it, this time in Port Arthur, Texas. And joining us to break it down is Hilton Kelly, founder and director of Community and Power and Development Association. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, thanks for having me.
Glad to have you on. So Port Arthur, Texas has this massive oil refinery. What's going on with that?
Well, we have a number of oil refineries here in the city of Port Arthur, and every year our communities are subject to thousands and thousands of pounds of toxins like sulfur dioxide, 1,3-butadiene, which are known carcinogens, and various other toxic chemicals that come from the oil and gas industries.
And we can expect that that is going to have an effect on people's lives, people who are living in that area. And I want to bring up a photo of a house right next to one of these plants. If we could bring up this, you can see it right there. And I believe so that family's been displaced for a couple of years because of toxic mold, but that's just one of the health concerns that we're talking about. There are ongoing lawsuits. What are some of these lawsuits about? What are the families in the area alleging has happened to them?
Well, basically, due to Hurricane Harvey, many of our citizens have been displaced. I think about maybe 20% of our population is still living in Louisiana, places like Dallas, other than here in their hometown of Port Arthur, because their homes was inundated with water. And to add insult to injury, a lot of toxins were spewed into the air due to shutdown of these facilities whenever they flood. There was some flooding at the Motiva facility. There was some flooding at, I believe, the Valero facility. All of them had to shut down because that's just the way the procedure goes when you can't operate the units. And because of that, you get a lot of sulfur dioxide in the air. You get a lot of carbon monoxide. And it's just the way of life here in Port Arthur. Many people live right up on the fence line of these massive oil and gas industries.
Yeah, that footage is incredible. I had seen pictures, but even up until just right now, I just realized how big this facility actually is. And with that size comes massive profit. So how big is this business? How significant is its economic sort of footprint?
Well, these industries are critically important to the economic survival of this country, really, because they provide a lot of the fuel that we use in our jets, that we use in our tanks, for military, for our cars, you name it. Southeast Texas helped to provide that energy need, oil and gas. And also we have LNG facilities here as well. And yet, the people down here in Southeast Texas, we bear the brunt for the nation to have clean burning gasoline and fuel. But unfortunately, a lot of those toxins are dumped into the air that we breathe.
Yeah, and so I've read, by the way, that last year, that company made $111 billion in profit, almost twice as much as Apple, which it sounds insane. So you've gotten some pushback for your advocacy work in that community because there's theoretically in the future an economic benefit to some of the people who own real estate in the area, is that correct?
That's correct. I mean, many of the people here, most of the jobs that are paying a decent wage is in the oil and gas industry. And many of the folks here aspire to work in that particular field because they pay in upwards of $25 to $30 an hour. Any other job in this particular area, you're probably making $12 to maybe $13 an hour, if that.
And so tell me.
So with that being, our founding fathers here in the city of Port Arthur put all their eggs in that one basket.
And now, I mean, look, we nationally, there's this conversation about switching to more clean energy that would hypothetically lead to plants like that being shut down, which, there's obviously a lot of benefits to that, but it sounds like some of the people in the area would see that as a potential threat to their economic future.
That is correct. Many of the people here that aspire to work in the oil and gas industries to make an upward of $25, $30 an hour would see that as a threat. But we all know that, nothing lasts forever. And I think we need to explore ways in which we can get more into renewable energy and also make it accessible and affordable for everyone, not just the wealthy.
So as you continue your advocacy work in Port Arthur, as those lawsuits continue against this corporation, what do you see as the ideal outcome?
Well, I think the ideal outcome at this particular time, due to the fact that many people cannot afford renewable energy sources like battery-operated cars and solar panels, I think the best thing that we can push for at this particular time is to get the refineries and the chemical plants to reduce their emissions to a safe level, to what the EPA deemed as safe, even though sometimes that's still not conducive for everyone in the community. But we got to continue to push to reduce as much of the emissions from these industries as possible.
And of course, it's timely. We have to mention that I believe just in the past week, the Trump administration repealed the Clean Power Plan and have their own version now, which is less stringent in terms of its regulations on exactly this sort of energy production. So the path that you'd like to see us go forward on, the Trump administration is taking us in the exact opposite direction, it looks like.
And that's exactly right. I mean, we have to do more to increase the regulations to help protect human health and our environment. But under the Trump administration, it appears as if he's trying to roll back everything that Barack Obama has done and President Clinton did in Executive Order 12898, I believe it was, where they made it more safer because they pushed the Environmental Protection Agency to do a better job at enforcing the regulations and the laws that govern them under the Clean Air Act rules.
Well, Hilton Kelly, we appreciate you joining us on the show, talking about your work and about the situation down there in Port Arthur.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Here on the Damage Report, we talk a lot about the big banks and their ways of getting rich off the poor. They saturate the market, but there are other options. And I've got info on a socially and environmentally responsible financial institution that has no ATM fees, gives you cash back on every purchase. They even commit 10% of their earnings to charity. It's called Aspiration, and if you go to aspiration.com/TYT to sign up, you'll get these perks, and that's more money to spend or to save or to spend. Just treat yourself.